we're going to move on to the Hidden Human History movie original with spirit science. And I know you gave me the... We're going to watch a little bit in, and then we're going to go up to the marker. I already got it. I got it written down. Sorry, my butt itches. I had to scratch it.
We have warped our own history.
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, 100%. I know people that have gone to Southern schools, and they're like, yeah, this is the kind of shit that they'll tell you. They'll be like, well, we have to teach you about this, but we know what we learned in Sunday school. And it's like, yeah. It's like, no, you should actually teach if you're a teacher. If you want to go to Sunday school, if you want to teach Sunday school too, but you should keep the Bible out of the classroom at all times. Kids have questions about the Bible in your classroom, be like, hey, wait till Sunday school, and then we'll wonder about that. Talk about it there. All right.
History. Our stories of the past have been changed, altered, mistranslated, and completely been misunderstood as we rounded the curve on the precession of the equinox. Modern views of our history account for many things, but completely dismiss many very important pieces in the puzzle. For example, the pyramids of Giza. There is no modern theory that accounts for how these could have been made. Individually, each block cannot be pulled even with...
There's like millions of theories on how these could have been made. The latest one that I heard is that they basically dumped tons and tons of water on the sand, because if you do that on the sand in the desert in Egypt, you can actually move massive stones with a minimal amount of people across large distances, because it'll just slide. It'll basically ride over all of that fluid, and it's way easier to pull rather than doing say the logs, because logs on sand wouldn't really roll. And not only that, but you'd have to get a lot of logs too, and they'd get crushed a lot, so you'd have to get more and more logs. And as for like getting the stones up there, obviously they could have done the same thing that they were doing by like pouring water. Or maybe they had some kind of like axle or some shit. Maybe they had like lubricated scaffolding with those rolling logs in it that they could pull them over. Can it be reproduced? I have no idea. I don't think anybody's really tried or had the money to try.
50 men pulling it, let alone drag it for hundreds of miles and then stack them on top of each other 450 feet in the air, in such a precise way that even modern technology can't achieve. Not to mention having it lined up precisely with both Orion's belt, a golden mean, and Fibonacci spiral, and be a primary nodal point of every sacred site on the planet.
Yeah, that very last one is a big, giant iron horse of bullshit. So, fuck that. Yeah, no. That has nothing to do with anything. The spiritual thing is all in your head. As far as like being extremely precise, yeah, it is. They probably lined it up because they had an extremely clear view of the sky because there was no light pollution, and they lined their shit up according to exactly how they saw the world, and they were able to do it extremely precisely because they had, they were well fed. The people that were doing this, they were well educated, and by this time in human history, even though it is, thousands of years ago, even though it is extremely ancient, they still had a pretty goddamn good idea of, how to build things. Which is why they started small, which they started with mastabas, or mastabas, I think they're called. So you would build the mastaba, and then you would build another one on top, and then you build another one. That's how Imhotep built the first step pyramid. Then we go to bent pyramids, and then you go to the Great Pyramids, and the Great Pyramid used to be this huge grand complex. And when you do that day and night over 70 years with tens of thousands of well-paid, well-fed workers, you can really achieve it. And oftentimes life was cheap, so if you died or you got injured, there you go, see you later, piss off, we'll get a new slave. because people are constantly reproducing. Yeah, they were mathematicians, exactly. Imhotep was an architect and a mathematician. That's exactly what he was. Same with Archimedes. Same with, well,
and that's just one example.
Name 'em.
Our history is not what we think. Many things that we've been led to believe to be true simply is not. This has got to be the biggest. The field of archaeology recently saw some monumental discoveries that are rocking the foundation of what we think we know about ourselves. Many ancient cities such as Babylon, Erech, and Akkad that were written about in the Bible and other ancient texts were always thought to be myths because no one could prove they existed.
What? We've known about Akkad for a very long time. And they were written about in the Bible because they actually existed, and the Bible was written by men, so of course they're going to talk about these things. In Babylon, yeah, we've known about these things. What the fuck are you talking about? If you're talking about recent archaeological discoveries, that's because archaeology is a fairly new field. I mean, that's the exact same with a lot of scientific fields. They're new in the sense of within the last century or two. So if you're going to say new discoveries are made every single day, if you want to talk about or what is it, Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is constantly like under threat of being exploded by bombs and, you know, taken over by rebels and shit. They're trying to figure out why this, you know, the oldest, you know, human settlement or whatever the hell it is there. So we need to look into that. And when you put in your spirit science bullshit, we can't really do that too effectively.
Inside one of these cities, archaeologists found thousands of cylindrical clay tablets hidden deep within the earth under this ancient city. The tablets were completely covered in text, written in cuneiform, and tell an ancient story that spans back over hundreds of thousands of years on this planet, describing the history of the earth and the origins of the human race in great detail. Now, the first thing we all want to do is just say that they were making things up. They didn't know the history of Earth, and they were simply creating tales to explain where they came from. However, if this was true, how can we explain how they knew so many things about the universe that would seem impossible to know? Not only did the Dogons know all about the distant planets in the solar system, but so did the Sumerians. They described them all in great detail in these Sumerian...
They described them just like every other ancient society described them, as like wandering stars. Eventually we figure out that no, they're not stars, they're planets. Hold on. Watch this. When were planets discovered? Let's see. Planets. 5 planets have been known since... 5 planets have been known since ancient times. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The first new planet discovered was Uranus. Nice. It was discovered by English astronomer Sir William Herschel in 1781. Herschel was one of the first modern astronomers. And then they found some table. Oh, and then they found some tablets. Dum 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 dum. When were the planets discovered and named? No, I want to see all of the planets. Well, we've known about them since ancient times, because we were like, hey, let's look at them. We can discover these things. Hey, how's it going? How are the ducks doing? How's duck life? It's all good. I saw your construction. Good job.
They also knew about the precession of the equinox.
Shit.
That's a tough one for a historian to understand, because it takes over 2,000 years of continuous observation to actually learn that the Earth has a wobble. The Sumerians had this information from day 1 of their civilization. A man named...
No, it wasn't day 1 of their civilization. Like, by the time writing would have existed, by the time record keeping and effective record keeping would have existed, and people would have written down things that they actually thought might be important, that civilization had existed for an extremely long time. Probably like 1,000 fucking years, okay? I'm not an archaeologist, so don't quote me. But it existed for a while, and then they figured out, hey, we can effectively communicate if I press these forms into a piece of clay and then give it to you, and then you can hold on to that and be like, oh yeah, he told me to go fuck myself. That's right. Yeah, it's a good reminder. Maybe I should. I'll use this stone he gave me to shove it up my, diseased, maggot riddled fucking ancient ass. The past was the worst. It's true. Ducks are good. Introduction to current flock is going well. That's good. And it's good they have each other. Yeah, that's so sweet. They're such cute ducks. Quack quack. Rachel's a what? Vet assistant? Yeah, right. That's what it is. She's got ducks. Check the Discord for the ducks. There's a new link for the Discord, so it should work.
These texts and have put them all together in his books. But many others have also done the same, and the interpretations are always very similar. Not only that, but Thoth has also shared information about this with us, and his account matches the Sumerian records. Adamus and other channelings discuss it as well. If you see all of these records and sources, there is a huge connection between the stories. Now, this story spans back hundreds of thousands of years into...
So wait, you're telling me two modern dipshits know a decent amount about ancient history, and then they were able to channel that, and now that's your evidence for the Sumerians knowing that how the universe came into being? What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. Seriously, and again, I should just keep Google open. So let's see. Sumerian civilization. See how long they lasted. Was the first civilization? The Sumerians were the first earliest known civilization. Who's the oldest civilization? It's even about 3000 BC. How old is ancient Egypt? Stupid questions. Okay. For almost 30 centuries, from its unification around 3100 BC to its conquest by Alexander. Okay. So Egypt did form before Sumerians. All right. Yes, vet assistant.
It talks
awesome.
About Tiamat
Got
and
it
Nibiru,
right.
the Nephilim, seeding the human race, Adam and Eve.
Hey, if anybody has, sorry, I keep pausing, but if anybody has links to videos on Nibiru, I was trying to find some, but it's really fucking, I just really can't find anything that's good. Look like Planet X, but a lot of it is old videos of like bad predictions of, I don't know, I don't even know what the hell. I think the earliest one I found was like 3 years old. So if anybody has links to things about Nibiru, Planet X, send them to me. Send it to the Discord, and we'll definitely tear that apart because I would love to go over that.
And the children of Lemuria. This portion of the story is really interesting, but not the most crucial to know. We're not going to be covering this at this time. We are, however, going to be picking up the story at the end of Lemuria and discussing the events of Atlantis up to present day. What I'm going to tell you is a mix of what these records say, along with what Thoth has told us for some finer details. Please have your own experience while watching
Thoth
this.
is a punk.
I'm not going to tell you that this is fact. I am simply saying, decide for yourself.
I don't want to. I like how he just like straight up yeah, we're not gonna watch that. I like how he's just like, no, you gotta decide for yourself, and just passed off all responsibility. Let's see, I said space Jews. Okay, let's see. Atlantis. Yeah. I'd be more than happy to know that, like, more than happy to believe that, like, Atlantis existed, but I know it's not some mythical place or anything like that. It would just be like an ancient civilization. If anybody knows, if anybody knows anything about the Sea People, that's kind of what Atlantis could be. And if you want to talk about the Sea People, we can actually look up the Sea People after we look at this, because that's an interesting topic. Nobody really knows, and this is one of those things that nobody actually knows. Nobody actually knows who the sea people were. But they fucking ravaged people, ravaged civilizations in the Mesopotamian area throughout ancient history. What a cop-out phrase.
Is that
Give me the
everyone
ball.
becomes very greedy.
What's a
There is no
cop-out
compassion
phrase?
for one another, and everyone
Decide
ends up
for- oh,
fighting
yeah,
until they
decide
end
for
up killing
yourself, yeah.
themselves. More than 1 million years ago, the beings on Mars
Oh, yeah,
joined
exactly.
the Lucifer experiment, and it failed dramatically. Basically, they cut themselves off from the unity of the universe and created a separate reality.
Crap.
When the Martians severed the love bond, they became pure male, logical beings with no emotions. What happened on Mars was that they ended up fighting. Mars became a battleground. Eventually, it became clear that Mars was not going to survive. They blew their atmosphere away and destroyed the surface of the planet. Nova recently did an episode on planetary magnetics, and they found some interesting things about Mars. The planet didn't have a magnetic system, however the surface was magnetized, implying that at one point it did, but that something happened. Now, we've been discussing the star tetrahedron before, and now I want to give you a brief understanding of the Merkaba. The Merkaba was known in ancient times as the Chariot of Ascension. It is the star tetrahedral energy field around the body. All around the world, there are references to this in ancient texts. When activated to its full potential, the Merkaba, which is both a tool and part of your being, can be used to do the impossible, included but not limited to changing dimensions and traveling through the universe. Before Mars was destroyed, they built huge tetrahedral pyramids. They built 3-, 4-, and 5-sided pyramids, eventually building a complex that was able to build a synthetic Merkaba.
Wait.
After 1 million years or so, it's been eroded, but the proof is there. Now, because the Martians were severed from the Unity consciousness, they couldn't create a living Merkaba. They simply used it as a tool. They created a synthetic Merkaba to travel in time and find a new home. A small group of
Stop using that.
Martians tried to get away from Mars before it was destroyed, and that
No.
place they found was Earth. About
Oh
65,000 years
no.
in our past.
Oh
They saw this little
no.
vortex sitting there, just pulling in life with no one in it. They didn't ask permission.
Spirit science,
Being part of the Lucifer
no.
experiment, they just said, "All
Do
right,
not.
let's do it."
You
And
were
they stepped onto that vortex.
No.
And in doing so, they joined and changed our evolutionary path. Thoth's father, Thome.
Why are the Martian space Jews evil? What the fuck, dude? Oh my god. That was like not very thinly veiled, man, at all. You really gotta check yourself again, spirit science, cause holy shit. You straight up just said that Jews like came from Mars through a Star of David portal with nothing but like malicious intent because they just like wanted the Earth or something. I was so taken aback by all, like, the tetrahedral thing is dumb as shit. I mean, it obviously makes no sense, but oh my god, I don't even know if I want to watch that again, but I think I do.
They built 3-, 4-, and 5-sided pyramids, eventually building a complex
Why
that
did
was
they?
able to build a
I just want to
synthetic
see like
Merkaba.
what.
After 1 million
Okay,
years or so, it's
here
been
we are.
eroded, but the proof is there. Now, because the Martians were severed from the Unity consciousness, they couldn't create a living Merkaba. They simply used it as a tool. They created a synthetic Merkaba to travel in time and find a new home. A small group
Oh shit. Oh, he called the Star of David like fake. He's calling it like a fake religion. This is a fake Merkaba is what he's saying. Holy shit, dude. Oh, this is way worse than I thought, man. You did not prepare me for this shit. Holy fuck. I have never seen somebody straight up just like shit on the Jews this hard. And I've seen some Nazi shit. Now, I'm not talking about like not aside from the Holocaust, obviously, but I'm talking about like a video like this.
get
Oh
away
my
from Mars before
god.
it was destroyed, and that place they found was Earth. About 65,000 years in our past. They saw this little vortex sitting there, just pulling in life, with no one in it. They didn't ask permission. Being part of the Lucifer experiment, they just said, "Alright, let's do it." And they stepped onto that vortex, and in doing so, they joined and changed our evolutionary path.
Because they were part of the Lucifer experiment. Oh my god, dude. What do you expect from the ATP's magic people? I didn't even know that was a thing. I gotta see that. Oh, dude. I thought, okay, when you told me that Spirit Science was gonna say something about space Jews, I thought you were gonna say that they like came from like like the South Park thing where there's a planet for every different race and being or whatever, and they put everybody on Earth to make it a reality show. I thought you were gonna say like they came as like maybe like celestial beings from space or something like that. I thought that was gonna be interesting, but I thought you already watched that video. Did I watch that video? I feel like I did. I don't know. My memory's not that great. Sorry. If I already did, yeah. That ATP is whatever. Regardless, but I did not expect like how do you even call that, like that was like blatant. It was like blatant anti-Semitism, but it was also just harsh. That was like ridiculously off color, like off-putting. That was like a deep cutting kind of fucking kind of insult. What about signals? I'll look at it again because I think I know which one you're talking about now. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Oh yeah, fuck. Yeah, considering they think basic biological processes are magic, I guess, or whatever the fuck they talked about in that in the ATP's magic video. Yeah, no wonder they would think that evil Jews from space, from the Lucifer fucking project, came down and are the reason why there's evil in the world. Holy, oh, dude, that was a little much, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Thome was one of the Nakals who set up Atlantis on the island of Udal. That island, the top of the Tree of Life, was the brain of Atlantis, and on it was a small city called Poseidon. This city is what Plato was discussing when he said that Poseidon bore 10 children, the 10 circles on the Tree of Life. Poseidon was made of 3 rings painted in black, red, and white stones, and it was the symbol for Atlantis. The inner circle represented the Nakals. The middle circle were the priesthood, called the Maya, and the outer circle represented the regular people of Atlantis. We'll come back to this down the road.
Why?
There were only a few thousand
Sounds
Martians
really
who came
stupid.
to Earth through the synthetic Merkaba. The first thing they did when they arrived in Atlantis was try to take over the continent. They tried to
those
declare
crafty
war and
Jews.
invade. However, they were vulnerable
See that?
due to their small numbers.
God, this
compared
is
to the
so
millions of
fucking bad,
Atlanteans,
man.
And we finally subdued them. We were able to stop them from conquering us, but we could not send them back. When this happened on our evolutionary path, we now had the planetary consciousness of a 14-year-old girl.
Oh, it gets worse. He's like, they tried to attack us, and then we tried to genocide them all. We couldn't send them back to their creator, so, we had to keep doing it. Oh.
The Martians were an incredibly male species, and also very old. So what you had was a 14-year-old girl being taken over by a 60 or 70-year-old man. We had no choice in the matter. The Martians just stepped in and said, like it or not, we're here. They didn't care what we thought or felt about it. Really, it was no different from what the settlers of North America did to the Native Americans. Once the initial conflict was over, it was agreed that the Martians would try and understand this female thing they lacked. This emotional feeling, which they had none of at all. Things more or less settled for a while, but the Martians slowly began to implement their left-brain technologies, which the Atlanteans knew nothing about. One after the other, the Martians kept putting out these left-brain inventions, until the Atlanteans slowly began to see things through their left brain. We slowly began to become a male species. The Martians gained control, bit by bit, until eventually they had all of the power, as was their intention.
Oh no.
The animosity between Atlanteans and the Martians never subsided, not even till the end of Atlantis.
Oh my god, dude. This video is bad. How is this still up? How does this have 4 million views? Oh, I can't imagine it gets worse. Holy fucking shit, dude. He's basically saying like, oh, the Jews and the Christians are gonna fight till the bitter end, and that's just how it's gotta be because of spirit science powers. Spirit science, dude. You are fucking killing me, man. This is so. Oh, we gotta keep going. Hold on, everybody's. If you're not already, if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to Ravenous Bean because he's the one who gave me this video. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
They hated each other. The Atlanteans were shoved down and treated like inferiors. It was like a marriage that the female component didn't like, but the male component didn't really care if she liked it or not. It remained this way for a very long time, until about 26,000 years ago, when the next phase slowly began. Before we continue, we have to talk about polar shifts. See, in the 1930s, Edgar Cayce was channeling information for a geologist when he stopped and he said, "There's something you should know. In the near future, the Earth's poles are going to shift." Cayce was a brilliant man with a very strong connection to higher dimensions, where he communicated with other beings for the human race. Ultimately, it was because of his channelings that the belief system called New Age was created. This is again just putting what he was doing into boxes of understanding, because no one else understood what he was doing.
Is that what you're trying to do? My bad if I
Nevertheless,
deleted
when
your
Cayce
comment
talked,
and
people listened.
that's not what you're trying to do.
Geologists began exploring the possibility of a polar shift, and they found something remarkable. A string of major pieces of evidence came forth and lent tremendous weight to what Cayce was saying, and they have now changed the world's view on the subject. Scientists believed that if there was going to be a physical pole shift, there would also be a change in the magnetic poles. Through studying lava beds, geologists were able to see where the planetary magnetics were when the lava beds hardened at certain depths. They found that the earlier magnetic poles were not where they were now, but in Hawaii. The last shift that took place was 13,000 years ago, and we will get there in the story soon. They did another test and found that it had shifted again.
Okay. I swear to God, if he says we're overdue, I'm gonna fucking flip. We're not overdue for shit. That's not how geology works. It's not how any of the geophysical processes work. We're not overdue. They're not regular like that. The only reason Old Faithful is regular is because that's how long it takes for the water to boil, basically. He drew Edgar Cayce like a monster. Did he? I wasn't even truly paying attention. Let's see. Kinda, yeah. Wait. Yeah, he did. That's a good... Oh, that's a good screenshot. I'm gonna take that. There we go. Sploip. I love it. Polar shift file. Hold on. Here. Because I don't know where it's gonna save to. I don't want to save it to the wrong place to show you guys stuff. Anyway, so let's move on.
Poles are going to shift.
Polar
Cayce
shift.
with a very strong connection to higher dimensions, where he communicated with other beings for the human race. Ultimately, it was because of his channelings that the belief system called New Age was created. This is again just putting what he was doing into boxes of understanding, because no one else understood what he was doing at that time. Nevertheless, when Cayce talked, people listened. Geologists began exploring the possibility of a polar shift, and they found something remarkable. A string of major pieces of evidence came forth and lent tremendous weight to what Cayce was saying, and they have now changed the world's view on the subject. Scientists believed that if there was going to be a physical pole shift, there would also be a change in the magnetic poles. Through studying lava beds, geologists were able to see where the planetary magnetics were when the lava beds hardened at certain depths. They found that the earlier magnetic poles were not where they were now, but in Hawaii. The last shift that took place was 13,000 years ago, and we will get there in the story soon.
The fall of
They did another
consciousness?
test and found that it had shifted again 26,000 years ago as well. Scientists also learned that polar shifts happen very quickly. In a single day, the magnetics would do a complete flip.
That's not, no.
Is that no?
No, that's not true at all. That is not true at all. A polar shift can take like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. It's not how it's shifting. I'm not 100% sure why or how it shifts. I don't even know if we know as humans know how it shifts. But that's not. It doesn't shift within a day. If the magnetic field shifted straight up within a day, that would, I mean, there are animals that rely on the magnetic field to travel. That would straight up just destroy entire ecosystems within, a second. Ooh, excuse me. So that's definitely 100% not true. And the reason you would find rocks in, say, Hawaii with, you actually wouldn't find a ton of rocks with magnetic properties in Hawaii because, well, it's kind of new. I don't think it would have gone through too many shifts over its lifetime. But if you were to find magnetic rocks in Hawaii that had a sideways polar shift or a sideways magnetic field, then that's because they were in that magnetic field for such a substantial amount of time that they were able to gain that magnetic property. And it would have to be, it would be, tens of thousands of years, because the magnetic field, as strong as it may be, is really actually pretty weak. That's why your credit card doesn't get wiped every time it exists. You know what I'm saying? So it's not true at all. You're totally wrong, Spirit Science.
And within 24 hours, the sun would be rising differently than it did the previous day. This shift has happened hundreds of times over the last 100 million years on Earth, but it's speeding up now and happening faster and faster. Now only 13,000 years between each shift. A whole new viewpoint is beginning to be understood. From space, would this not appear as a pulse? Now, there's a lot more to talk about with polar.
No, if you watched the planet over tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, yeah, it would seem like it has some sort of like pulse, the same way the Sahara Desert has a pulse, because every season it grows and shrinks and it grows and shrinks, and it continues to grow because of desertification and the lack of attention to climate change and the environment. So, and I think he said that a shift in also correlates with a physical shift in the poles, which is not true at all. The poles would not, just because the poles physically shift, like just because Antarctica is where it is doesn't mean that that's where the like the South Pole, the South magnetic pole is. Antarctica was once like lush and green and full of jungle and way farther north, and now it's not, because it moved and now it's ice cold and the coldest place on Earth, basically. And I think the North Pole is mostly ice. It's much smaller landmass.
Studying this at great detail because the leading theory behind what caused polar shifts,
if there's land up there, even I don't even know.
He came up with a theory that demonstrated to be possible through various experiments. Through these experiments, they learned that the surface of the Earth, the crust, could slip over the main mass of the Earth, which continues its rotation as if nothing happened. The crust would rotate and spin out of control until eventually it settles again in a new location aligned with the new magnetics. During this time, there are massive earthquakes and tsunamis and devastations that rock the world. Doesn't that sound a bit like the destruction described in the Book of Revelations? Now, I don't want...
Oh, God, that's such bad... Oh, that is such bad information, dude. That's horrible. That makes absolutely no sense. Okay. If you have mass inside the planet, right? All right. And that mass is actually spinning. It's moving, it's turning. It is all spinning, but it's also moving in different directions as well. That's why the plates move in different directions. The only way to get that to move faster and then to just sort of stop, especially if you're going to rotate the planet on it, like, I don't even know how you would describe that, like on its axis, so that north goes south, And you would have to put so much energy into the Earth that, yeah, basically everything would get destroyed because you would have to switch that over. That's not how it would work. You would have to get that energy, that rotational energy from somewhere, and that's not going to happen because the Earth is constantly slowing down, not only due to gravitational drag from the moon and other bodies, but simply just due to physics. Eventually it's just going to slow the fuck down because that energy has got to go somewhere. It's just going to be dissipated. God, it's so simple. It's like the simplest shit.
Casey's account, many other ancient prophecies, including Nostradamus and Mayan prophecies, have talked about polar shifts in one way or another. And
probably because they're super old civilizations, except for like the Mayans because they're really young. But probably because they knew that you could have different kinds of like magnets. Like, oh, this one has a North Pole and then a South Pole. And then this one was from a different area, but it's the same material and it attracts differently. You know, maybe the poles shift because we know about the magnetic pole now. Yeah. Einstein advocated for a lot of shit. Just because Einstein advocated for it doesn't mean shit. Einstein was wrong about a lot of things. Golly.
That there is going to be a polar shift in our near future, which is lining up with our consciousness shift, though they don't take that aspect into account. It's funny actually, a while back, NOVA did 2 reports on polar shifts, and both times NASA shut them down. Then recently, NOVA released a new video called Earth's Magnetic Storm. That video shows all of the evidence for pole shifts without actually using the words pole shift. It's almost as if a specific company doesn't want us knowing about this, and
NASA is not a company. NASA is not a company. NASA is an administration of the United States government, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Okay? It is taxpayer funded. All right? It makes me wonder, Spirit Science, are you a sovereign citizen? Because if you are, please let me see you in court. That would be hilarious. I want to see you on court cam. Like, I'm not going to sue you. I just want to see you on court cam. Like, get a speeding ticket or get pulled over or something. I don't know. Can you still drive? That'd be fucking... I don't know. Let's see. Whoever did Spirit Science ever make a video about the world ending in 2012? Oh! Damn, I don't even know if he would have been around back then. He did. He probably deleted them. Yeah. He definitely would have done that shit. I don't know. I don't know Spirit Science enough. Does he make a lot of predictions like that? Would he make, you know, predictions about the end of the world or anything? Let me know. I've been going for almost 2 hours. I'm gonna take a quick latrine break. We're gonna watch Spirit Science be a fucking idiot for a couple minutes while I go. Just give me 1 second.
The evidence that's been brought forth. Polar shifts are directly related to the magnetics of the planet as well. Planetary magnetics are supposed to look like this, but the reality is much different. Our magnetics have been weakening over the last 500 years or so, and today, they look a little more like this. It was the magnetics becoming more and more warped that's causing many of the problems we've seen in the last 20 years. Birds follow the magnetics of the planet to migrate, and they'd be ending up in places they shouldn't be. Whales were continually beaching themselves in the 90s because they followed these magnetics, which led them to land where there should have been water. As for humans, you know how on the night of the full moon there are more rapes, murders, and violent crimes than any other night of the lunar cycle? Well, the moon affects the magnetics of the Earth, slightly. But the magnetics are so warped right now, it's affecting how we think and act as a planet. Our collapse of social structure is related to the geomagnetics of the Earth. Or perhaps it's the other way around. There's one other thing that we need to discuss about polar shifts. They always line up with a consciousness shift. They are interrelated. Thoth lived on Atlantis for a very long time, and he told us that he saw the Earth shift 5 times, watching the sun rise in the east, and then the west, then the east, then the west. This is how to explain why during a consciousness shift at the end of Lemuria, it sank beneath the oceans and Atlantis rose. If the crust was spinning randomly around the planet, many geological events such as continents rising and falling would take place. Now that we have an understanding of polar shifts, we can continue with this drama on Atlantis. 26,000 years ago, we were exactly where we were today on the precession of the equinox. We had gone through our falling asleep phase, and we were about to begin waking up. It was at this point that there was a small consciousness shift. We actually went down in consciousness, not up. A piece of Atlantis about the size of Rhode Island sank into the ocean. This caused a tremendous amount of fear within the Atlanteans, because they thought they were going to lose the whole continent, like what happened with Lemuria. Because of the consciousness shift, one of the bigger things they lost was their connection to the future. They couldn't foresee big events such as the potential sinking of their home. After about 200 years, this fear began to subside. Now, in both the Bible and the Sumerian records, the accounts of Adam, Eve, and all of their children were recorded to have exceptionally long lifespans, like...
Okay. Am I being detained? Are you detaining Jordan, Lizard? I don't know if you could hear my wailing, but I was screaming about the whales. Okay. So I know I do know what he's talking about. Drinking beers. I know what he's talking about when it comes to like whales being beached in the 90s. Because a lot of bad environmental shit happened in the 90s and before that. So a lot of that could actually be attributed to an increase in using like advanced sonar and radar technology, and basically indiscriminately using it without understanding how whales communicate, and it confuses them, so they end up beached. And the same thing with climate change. All of a sudden, the water gets warmer earlier, and they don't know what to do. They're not adapted to that, so they go to their breeding ground. And when they get to their breeding ground, it's the wrong time of day, so that the whaling. Yeah, I was he got me on that one, but it like. They might go there and it's the wrong time of year, so there's nothing to eat. So maybe they go for something on the shore that they think they can get, or they can possibly get to eat, because it's a whale. It has to eat a lot of food, and then they end up beached. These are simple things to attribute it to. You don't have to attribute it to a sudden shift in the magnetic poles. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. If that were to happen, then a lot of our technology would definitely record it. We'd be like, whoa, there's this freaky thing going on with all of our satellites. They're sort of like flipping out and flying off into space and crashing to Earth and shit. It's free 2012 vids. But people who were watching at the time said he made a whole series about it. Oh. Yeah. If he did, like, these are the kind of people that really need to stay away from fucking predictions and stuff like that, because they're always gonna be wrong. You can take a guess. You can be like, oh, well, I can make an inference about what's going on. I don't know if he learned his lesson. I don't know. I don't watch enough Spirit Science. I'm definitely gonna watch more Spirit Science here, and see his fucking ridiculous nonsense.
So time. The pyramids were also found to be built from the top down. The stone.
This motherfucker just said the pyramids were built from the top down. Are you fucking kidding me? What the hell kind of nonsense is that? How do you build anything from the top down? You literally can't. You would literally have to will it into being. Oh my god. Oh, dude, is he about to go Ancient Aliens on us? Holy fucking shit, man. Spirit Science. From the fucking top down. You already explained that the pyramids, like, basically couldn't be built. Now you're saying they were built in the most impossible way possible? What the fuck? What kind of Swiss cheese is your brain made out of, dude? Is it made out of that one, like, Croatian cheese that still has the maggots in it or whatever that, like, only people in the hills eat? Oh, jeez, dude. Yeah, what the fuck? Basically, it must be Minecraft. He's got a glitch in his Pharaoh Cleopatra expansion. Oh man, He does believe in the ancient yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit, dude. Oh, oh my god. Oh, I've never heard somebody say the pyramids were built from the top down. Dude, Rev, thank you so much. Trickle down pyronomics, yeah. Yeah, you start with the smaller stones up at the top, and then they just trickle down to the bigger stones down at the bottom, where where we're all drinking beer. You know, the aliens help us with that. Holy shit, dude! How does this guy exist, man? Oh, spirit science. How do you tie your shoes? Like.
Stones on top were placed first, which has baffled researchers ever since. Every time more is learned about the pyramids, we move further into...
I know what he's doing. Dude. Oh, Rav's the fucking... Rav is the best. Oh, man. Fucking... I think I know what he's doing. So he's conflating maybe a paper or report that says that the stones on the top were less weathered, probably because it was harder to take down the hang on. That's good enough. Oh.
And built very quickly. These pyramids were aligned precisely with both Fibonacci and golden mean spirals emanating from out of the
where's
solar
that
cross.
Picture of the
Interestingly
pyramids?
enough, Edgar Cayce also channeled the consciousness, so whatever they thought happened instantly. It was that simple. According to Thoth, he built the Great Pyramid.
There we go. Okay. So the reason that it's probably less weathered up here, because if you look at this is actually a limestone coating of the pyramid. So the pyramids, like, they have been, all of this used to be nice, smooth limestone, and they used to be bright white and would glow in the sun when they were brand new and finished and everything. But over the years, these giant piles of stone have just been ransacked by civilization after civilization after the fall of Egypt, and this is what they are now, which is still a testament to the builders that they lasted this long. I know everybody's probably heard that the pyramids were as old to the ancient Romans as the ancient Romans are to us. So, like, it's the reason he's saying that, oh, it was built from the top down. Well, yeah, these would be less weathered because it's really hard to take all of these fucking stones down off of the pyramid, especially when people are like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. Go fuck yourself. So then they find stones up there. They're like, oh yeah, these ones are less weathered, so they must have been covered by something or whatever. Or maybe they're talking about this one. Oh, these ones at the top are less weathered, so they must have been, you know, taken down. Have you ever, like, tried to like, you know, take something off a hill? You probably want to start at the bottom, you know, strip it down. Erosion from sandstorms too, yeah. Especially since this base is, you know, how many hundreds of meters long, or 100 meters long, whatever. So that's going to create this gigantic wall, basically, where the wind is just going to hit all of this stone, and it's just going to constantly hit it like a sandblaster for tens of thousands or thousands and thousands of years, baking in the dry Sahara sun with absolutely, like, no water. Plus this is I'm pretty sure this is I know the outside is limestone. I think the inside is granite. Yeah, I think that might be why the pyramids lasted so long, because the inside is granite, and granite is extremely durable. In fact, the like Mount Rushmore was blasted from granite. And hold on, what are the pyramids made of? We're blasted from granite, and they will be around for, like, I think it's like 7 million years. Limestone, the carved stones. Okay, I guess they were all limestone concrete. The the limestone concrete hypothesis, I think, has been thoroughly chastised. I've heard it before, but I don't think it's something that's true. But I guess it is all made of limestone. Pyramid, yes. Limestone, locally quality limestone. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's made out of limestone. But granted, yeah, so they won't be around for 7 million years, but the Mount Rushmore absolutely will.
Not the Egyptian king Cheops. Thoth says that it was built 200 years prior to the pole shift and built very quickly. These pyramids were aligned precisely with both Fibonacci and golden mean spirals emanating from out of the solar cross.
If by quickly you mean, like, I think it was like 70 years or 50 years. Maybe it was 30 years.
Interestingly enough, Edgar Cayce also channeled that the pyramids were constructed in this time. The pyramids were also found to be built from the top down. The stones on top were placed first, which has baffled researchers ever since.
God,
Every time
so
more is
fucking...
learned about the pyramids, we move further into dark on understanding how they were formed. If what Thoth says is true,
27, yeah, about
well,
30 years.
That explains everything.
So yeah, 30 years. That's amazing. You amazingly built these things in 30 years.
Thoth and friends constructed an entire network of temples and structures along this grid fourth dimensionally, placing them on nodes on the new synthetic Christ consciousness grid they were creating. All of them were made with Fibonacci or golden mean spirals, and all of them were mathematically referred back to the solar cross in Egypt through the Great Pyramid.
Dude, the Fibonacci spiral happens literally everywhere. It's one of the golden... It's the golden ratio. Everything boils down to... I think it's like... Yeah, everything boils down to like 1.16 inches or something like that. The diameter of an egg is 1.16 inches, correct? Something like that. Yeah, and that golden ratio is there because you can see it everywhere, and it's been recorded because Fibonacci was like, oh yeah, I can put mathematics to this, and we can actually figure out all of these things in nature that have this and why that's the strongest thing. Want to make something spiritual? Slap a Fibonacci spiral on it. Hell yeah, dude. You can also make it pretty damn Renaissance with that shit too. I love the modern day Renaissance. This is a cool picture.
The creation of all of the sacred sites on the planet were no accident.
Tilt shift.
It was a single consciousness that created them all, from Machu Picchu to Stonehenge to Zaghuan. You name it. There are a few exceptions, but most were created by a single awareness as part of a unity consciousness grid. Although the Great Pyramid was done all at once, many of these ancient structures of the world were made fourth dimensionally and slowly dropped in frequency until they manifested on the third dimension over a long period of time. Richard Hoagland's research brings this forward, but he wasn't the first either. They showed how one sacred...
He said Richard Hoagland, didn't he? God fucking damn it. So all of these pyramids and temples were just magicked into being. They weren't both slaves and workers that built them and mathematicians. No. It was aliens, because that's much more fascinating. That's one of the things that kind of aggravates the hell out of me with these like creationist fucks and the religious folks, the evangelicals, basically. And I'm not ragging on like all religious folks. Believe what you want. I don't care. But the world is so much more fascinating if you just look at the world as it really is, and you stop attributing it to everything magical and spiritual, and be like, oh, this is because God created it this way. This is because you fog your brain with all of this shit that's has to do with ley lines and temples and the ancients and writings that you completely misinterpret, and the pyramids being built from the fucking top down, and you miss everything else. You miss all of the things that are under the log because you're just like, oh, I can pull this log up because I get energy from the ancients thanks to my spirituality and my belief in the temple. And meanwhile, all of the bugs have skittered away, and you missed out on what the hell you really wanted to look at, which was what was under the goddamn log. Richard Hoagland is like let's see. Richard Hoagland is, I think he's like a creationist fuck. But he's He's basically spirit science Richard Dawkins. Richard Hoagland, American author. American Arthur. There's interesting things in nature, reflections of God's glory. That's fine, but still, like, appreciate the thing. Appreciate that thing there. Appreciate the flowers. Appreciate the sun. Like, don't think about, like, oh, I'm so glad God gave us the sun. Think about, holy shit, it's so amazing that this burning ball of plasma that's millions of miles away is giving me just this beautiful view that I can actually comprehend consciously, that I can look at and appreciate, and I can take in, nice oxygen on a warm day, and breathe in the air, and that sun is actually giving me energy through the processes in my body that give me vitamin D, and through it's giving me energy through the plants that fed the animals that I ate and the plants that I ate. So I'm literally eating sunlight in any time I want energy, if you want to boil it down that way. And to just attribute it to, well, that's great, and then stick your head back down into the Bible, it just makes everything a whole lot less interesting. It makes the world a whole lot less interesting, in my opinion. Richard Hoagland is an American author and a proponent of various conspiracy theories about NASA, lost alien civilizations on the moon and on Mars, and other related topics. Hoagland has been documented to misappropriate others' professional achievements, and is widely described as a conspiracy theorist and a fringe pseudoscientist. Boing. So that's Richard Hoagland. Richard Hoagland has no education beyond the high school level, according to Hoagland's own curriculum vitae. He has no advanced training, schooling, or degrees in any scientific field. Hoagland asserts that he was a curator of astronomy and space science at the Springfield Science Museum, 1964 to 1967, an assistant director at the Gengris Science Center in Westford, Connecticut, 1967 to 1968, and a science advisor to CBS News during the Apollo program, 1968 to 1971. In July 1968, Hoagland filed a copyright registration for a planetarium presentation and show script called The Grand Tour. Popular planetarium lecture at the Springfield Museum. Hoagland produced a program called Mars in 59. Blah, 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 blah. Hoagland claims the source of so-called NASA cover-up with relation to the face on Mars and other related structures is the result of a report commissioned by NASA, authored by the Brookings Institution, also called the Brookings Report. The 1960 report, entitled Proposed Studies on the Implications of Peaceful Space Activities for Human Affairs, is claimed by Hoagland on page 216 of the report to instruct NASA to deliberately withhold from public any evidence it may find of extraterrestrial activity specifically on the moon, Mars, or Venus. That is a really smart thing for the scientists to actually do, if that's what they did. As far as like the face on Mars, yeah, that's just shadows. That's all it is. It's just a hill with shadows. I like the way Futurama did it, where that's the entrance to the Martian like reservation, is the face on Mars, and then there's the giant ass of Mars too. Damn. But if NASA were to actually find real life, especially at that time, are you kidding me? That would throw the entire world into an absolute panic. So it is important for NASA to be like, hey, if we find life, because Earth is literally the only place in the entire universe that we know that life exists. That's it. This is the only place we know that life actually exists. As far as those like fossils, the fossils that came from Mars that were found, in the 90s or whenever in Antarctica, no, those were mineral deposits. That's been determined for decades now. So there's no, we don't know of any other life in the universe. We don't know how common or rare life is in the universe. So if we were to find that, especially if we were to find some kind of complex life, for instance, if we were to go to like Europa and go under the ice and actually sneak a camera in there, and we see something else looking at us, well, are you kidding me? We can't just, I don't think NASA could just show that to the public. People would lose their minds. People like Hoagland and people like Spirit Science would lose their absolute fucking shit. They would be like, oh my god, we're all gonna die. They're gonna think that they're evil creatures, and you'll have people like CC who are just gonna absolutely deny it and whatever, until we bring back one of these space fish and, you know, slap it down into some, you know, wet market and get space COVID. So, oh god. So yeah, Richard Hoagland is not somebody to be trusted at all. He makes a lot of claims that are not based in fact, and he's a wannabe scam artist, I think, a wannabe liar.
Exceptions, but most were created by a single awareness as part of a unity consciousness grid. Although the Great Pyramid was done all at once, many of these ancient structures of the world were made fourth dimensionally and slowly dropped in frequency until they manifested on the third dimension over a long period of time. Richard Hoagland's research brings this forward, but he wasn't the first either. They showed how one sacred site is extrapolated from another to another to another. A hot topic of discussion right now are ley lines. These are simply geometric relations between sacred sites. Archaeologists are now finding these huge connections between major spiritual sites in the globe.
So, basically, ley lines, for anybody that doesn't know, ley lines are fucking retarded. It's so stupid. Alright, hey, Blaine, take care, be safe, have a fun Friday night. I know you said you got plans, so I hope you have fun, and I hope you'll be on the Streamstalgia over on Sunday. And yeah, have fun, be safe, and if you need a ride, call a cab. I can't drive you out there. I'm a little bit myself. But be safe. Have fun. Yeah. I forgot what he was saying.
And now we know why they're connected. These sites had to be built physically so that the Christ consciousness grid could manifest.
No.
In a way, think of the physical...
ley lines. Ley lines are basically just... That's what these things are. They're just these weird-ass... People you try and use dowsing rods where you have rods, like metal rods, iron rods that are bent in an L shape, and you can walk around, and they'll, you know, move in your hands, and they'll line up. A lot of that has to do with like wrist motion, oftentimes, or if it's actually going to affect anything, it's going to be just like the magnetic field or in the area lining up, because the Earth's magnetic field isn't a perfect thing. It has, you'll have, like, if you have a high magnetic area, if you have a huge deposit of iron somewhere, you're gonna get a different magnetic reading. Luckily my plans are digital. Awesome, dude. Yeah, take care, and I'll see you then. Thanks for the name, by the way. Thanks again for the name. But yeah, ley lines are basically bullshit.
As the wiring of a giant wireless electrical...
You'll hear ghost hunters talk about ley lines. It's like, oh, they're places with spiritual activity and stuff, which I could go into a whole thing about my thing on ghost hunters or ghosts in general, but maybe we'll do that if I get to like a ghost video.
System.
Somebody's got any good
13,000
ghost
years
videos.
of continuous energy flow for it to actually turn on. And just so that you're not left in suspense, yes, the grid was completed. It came to life and is now active, though not really used. Congratulations, Earth. We actually survived. Not only has Thoth told us this in person,
that's
but
why
he's
we
also written it down
survived.
in the Emerald Tablets. These tablets were left in the Great Pyramid thousands of years ago. There are 12 tablets in total, formed from a substance created through alchemical transmutation. They are imperishable, resistant to all elements and corrosion.
That's weapons grade bullshit. Because if we had those, do you not think that like the military wouldn't take that? wouldn't be like, okay, well, we could definitely analyze this with like spectroscopy and modern technology, and we're gonna make armor out of this thing that is completely impervious, and we're gonna put it on our soldiers, and then just coat them in it, and then they're just gonna win everything, and we're gonna take over the world. No, this shit doesn't exist. If they're emerald tablets, they're gonna be made out of emerald, and not only that, but of course they're going to be in some kind of tomb or something like that. People are going to make very flashy things for tombs and temples because they want that thing to be special in that area. They want it to be a special token of whatever, whether that be like holiness or remembrance or whatever it is. It's the same reason it's the same reason you have a painting in a cathedral. Same reason you have, the Sistine Chapel. There's nothing mystical about it. It's just a pretty thing that's there. It's very nicely well crafted. It's a piece of art, and it's there as a piece of art specifically. And that's a lot of what things are. If you're gonna spend money on art, that's what it should be. It should be a piece of art, a passion that somebody had.
Their atomic structure is fixed in place, and no change can ever take place. In
That's
that
not
respect,
true.
they violate the material laws of ionization. These tablets share a great wisdom, and you can read them at over 100 different levels of consciousness, and you will always understand them differently. If you're interested in this stuff, you should definitely consider reading them. As you can probably tell, Thoth plays a pretty large role in what happened. Most of this information comes from him. Thoth also provided most of this information about the flower of life and its geometric relationship to consciousness with us. And this stuff
It's
is
just
tied
pretty
intimately
geometric
to the
shapes,
geometry of
dude.
the universe.
Circles fit
Considering
together
the quality
sometimes.
and quantity of information that he has shared, it makes you really start considering that
Oh
this
my
next
God,
part
dude.
can be true. The Great Pyramid has a legendary missing capstone. According to the Emerald Tablets, deep under the Great Pyramid there's a room called the Hall of Records. This room was not built by Thoth and long predates the Atlantean civilization. Within the Hall of Records,
It wasn't built by Thoth or the Atlanteans at all. It was built by workers, if it exists at all. For a Hall of Records, it would probably be like the Book of Death, which is just, it's not like some mystical thing. It's just like their religion, basically. It's just ancient Egyptian religion, and they also had the Book of Life. And these gods didn't actually build anything, and
deep under the Great Pyramid there's a room called the Hall of Records.
it's so hard to like focus on what to be mad at with this asshole. I really want to keep going because we're gonna go till at least 8, and then we'll see where I'm at there. I kind of want to check out.
Definitely consider reading them.
I kind of want to see something else. Because I really don't want to I don't want to see any more Spirit Science because he's so fucking bad. God, dude. Like, it's one thing to believe some shit. It's one thing to believe some crazy shit. It's another thing to turn on your camera and just be like, wow, I am going to spout some of the craziest bullshit right now. I am going to say the pyramids are coming from the top, built from the fucking top down. Oh man.